Hello everyone, it's Kaifu here with another video for you guys. Today's video will be me answering a common question that I've been getting lately since GP Perth. And that question is, why did I use Lumia hook at GP Perth in an aggressive format at the moment? So in this video, it's quite obviously I'll be answering that question and also doing a breakdown on the matches I went through during the event and so on. Other than that, let's get on with the video. Now, a lot of people have been asking the same question over and over again. Why am I using Lumia hook? Was I trying to be different? Was I trying to change the meta? Why didn't I use Feasting or Precium or Zero even? Why didn't I use those decks? Do you think Lumia was superior? No, I don't think Lumia is superior than Feasting or Precium any single way. They all have their own purpose in a way. But to be honest, the reason I used Lumia hook, it was an accident. Now what I mean by accident is that, so for those that know, GP Perth is all the way in the Western Australia. And I live on the east side of Australia, which is on Victoria/Melbourne. And that is at least a 4-hour flight. So in between that time, I actually left the blasting waves at home. So 3 of my blasting waves is back home in Melbourne, and I'm already at Perth, so I didn't have any blasting waves. So originally I was supposed to play Precia because I am a competitive player, so I'll be using whatever the strongest deck out there and compete and put myself in a better position than using Lumia hook. But Lumia hook is still a good deck regardless. So that was the plan, but again I left the blasting waves back at home. Now, and then people will be saying, well, why didn't you just go to the store and ask for blasting waves or ask for local players? Well, here's the thing. I did went to the local stores. I did ask them for blasting waves, but they didn't have any. So that option was no good. The other option was that I could have asked the locals to lend it or borrow it or buy off them or whatever, right? But the problem is, if I did ask the players directly, they will know what I'll be playing at GP Perth. Because think of it this way. Let's say I got unlucky and I got paired up with the person who lent me or I bought off the blasting waves. Now that will change in game 1 how he mulligans, because now he has like additional information that he might think I'm be using Precia, and if that's the case, he will mulligans his hand to his favor for game 1 regardless going first or second, so putting him in the upper advantage because he does have the knowledge and he can assume that I'll be playing Precia. Because like say for scenario, if you don't know what your opponent's playing, obviously you'll be mulligan normally for like maybe some hate cards for Precia like a Cypher or something, but since you know I borrow or bought blasting away from you, you definitely have a good hunch, and obviously you would be expecting is a Precia deck, so you will mulligan very hard for your hate cards like the Depth Side, Barrier Shadows, and whatnot. So that's why I didn't ask the local players. Again, I don't want to put myself in a bad position, because again, that player can also, not saying he will or she will, but that player can also spread like what I'll be using and creating a lot of disadvantage for me. So I'd rather use a different deck and letting people know what I'll be using. Yes, Precia is a very hard deck to get countered by, but when it comes to mirror matches and so on, they can actually figure out, and I don't know if they're playing Precia or not, and I can be mulligan to my decision of the OTK play or whatever, and they can just mulligan for like key cards in it because they have a good idea what I'm playing. Yes, obviously after a couple of rounds people will know what you're playing, but the first couple of rounds is very important to, obviously as a competitive player you must, or you don't have to, but I prefer to get the early wins to put my momentum up, so that's saying that I am doing well at the event and so on. So there's your answer guys. So my answer is that it was an accident. I was not supposed to use Lumia hook, but I did. But I did get enough practice with it for the last month or so, because I did use Lumia hook as a practice deck to play with, so to get the feel of how the meta will be shifting like and so on. So yeah, that was the thing. So don't be like me, don't be stupid enough to leave your blasting waves at home like I did, especially if you're a competitive player. If you're casual and try to have fun, then I guess you don't need to worry about it too much. But for me, I am a competitive player, and obviously I want to do my very best with my capability with the best deck out there. So now, so how did it go at the event? So I remember versing at least 2 Precia, not Precia, wait, is it? No, 2 Feasting, I think 2 or 1-0 or 2 or 1 Pre-Share. It's one of those two rounds. It's one of those two ratios, either 2 Pre-Share and 1-0 or 2-0 and 1 Pre-Share. I can't remember on top of my head. And in top 8, I actually lost to Armor Heart Stealth, so can't be helped. And I'll explain why I lost to Armor Heart Stealth, and not in a bad way, it's just a bad matchup, and I will explain why later. So against, let's start with Pre-Share because that's the most common deck you'll be seeing. Against Pre-Share deck, and when I'm using a Lumia, obviously it's quite hard because again, they can really kill me really fast on perhaps turn 2, turn 3 even, and Lumia decks in general requires at least 2 or 3 turns to set up their big power plays. Their most power play is the early turn hook to spin 2 stone to make them your opponent has no resource, but again it does take time and so on. So for that reason, I did actually make some tweaks to the deck itself. So instead of playing Tamas, I played the Divine Bird because it's flying. It does what Tama does anyway, but it's just a delayed version of it, so which I draw a card later on. And obviously the Depth Sight and Barrier Shell is in there, and the Gale Force as well, so it's pretty standard. And obviously when I'm versing a Pre-Share deck, I'm assuming I'm versing a Pre-Share deck, I'll always try to want to have at least 1 Melfi in hand and then once instant speed or quick cast 1 drop, like Gale Force, Whirlwind, Bear Magic. Any of those 1 drops instant speed at least will trigger Melfi's second ability, which it will prevent all damage dealt by a J-Ruler or Resonator. So in that case, Pre-Share when you try to activate Godark. So that's what I really want. So in my open hand, I really prefer to have a Melfi or a Melfi and any 1 drop instant speed, anything, as long as I can pay it. Mostly Bear Magic, because Bear Magic is a bit more easy to require because Gale Force requires a flying resonant. If they don't have one, that's an issue. Whirlwind, if they don't have it, then they don't play anything, then obviously Whirlwind cannot be activated, and I can't really want to Whirlwind my Melfi, that's the thing, unless I have full resource open. So that's the thing. So yeah, it's pretty hard matchup. It's not the easiest for me, but when it comes to piloting whoever plays Pre-Share, it depends on the experience. And I think the first couple Pre-Share I versed was not sure how many experience they have playing with the deck, because I did notice they play 1 or 2 misplays, but it was very minor. It wasn't very dramatic to the point that lose the game. So yeah, that's all I can remember from there. But again, Lumia Hook is still a really good deck, but again, in the competitive wise at this point in time, it's very hard to use, especially if your opponent can literally kill you on turn 2. Now against the Feasting matchup, now Feasting wasn't the hardest, wasn't the easiest matchup out there. It was a really 50-50 matchup. It depends what I draw, it depends what my opponents draw. If my opponent's draws are not like dropping a couple of Vipers on, and I don't have Bear Magic, if I don't have Pre-Share Slayer in play, then obviously I'm gonna lose. But if I draw my own crazy combo like the Elves, the Hawk and so on, it's pretty much I win from there. So it really depends on the fit, on the match, on the whoever draws better in a way. If both players draw average, I prefer to draw at least 1 Pre-Share Slayer and 1 Bear Magic, and maybe Gale Force later on the line, but other than that, that's pretty much the main thing. Now against Zero. Now I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys like to play Zero and so on, but from my point of view, I say Zero is one of the weakest deck out there at the moment, from my point of view. Now the reason I say this is because the deck is too fair. What I mean by too fair, I mean it's playing too nice. It doesn't have any unfair plays. Now, in the competitive scene, you have to play very unfair. In not unfair like cheating or something. I mean unfair with deck strategy. You have to do that. Like that's the only way you can actually win in the competitive scene, by playing unfair strategy and overwhelming your opponent. No one's gonna be playing, oh, I'm gonna be playing a balanced, nice deck against my opponent and hopefully we'll have a good match and win. No one will do that. That's from my point of view, from playing Fossil for almost 4 years, no, more than 4 years. I've been playing since 2013, yes, around there. I've been playing for a long time, so I can say that you have to play an unfair deck. And even as a skillful player as you are, using a balanced deck and you're versing an opponent with a high level competitive deck, it's very hard even for a skillful professional or competitive player to go well against it. Like say for a scenario, let's say that not using deck wise, but let's say using a video game wise. So let's say I use, well, I don't play video games that much, so I don't have a good example, but let's say for scenario, Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys played it. If you haven't played it, so bear with me. So in Warcraft 3, the Frozen Throne, there are unfair plays for each race. For example, the undeads have the necromancy and so on at the early game, have the undead death knight and so on with death coin and so on. It has a lot of unfair plays, and night elves is one of the balanced one out there. But however, when you're versing undead against night elf, it depends on the skill of the player. Obviously, both players have their own timing so on, but again, one will dominate the other because, like, again, like archers and huntresses have weak stats and so on. And if your opponent goes for fiends, which has piercing damage and so on, obviously the units who are better at against the matchup is in a better position. So obviously, the night elf players will be mostly going demon hunter, maybe 1 or 2 archers, and then dryads, and then bear forms. And then undead will go and get the destroyers and the fiends and lich king with the orb of corruption and so on. Something on those lines, but that's just a scenario. So the thing is, with Xurius, it's just too fair. It doesn't have any unfair plays. Yes, it is annoying when they play like Abdul, Tsukuyomi on the battlefield, but that is only slowing you down. It's not like game changing. Because for me, I'm pretty sure I beat the Zero deck pretty easily with no problem. I think I got 1 draw out of it, but I'm pretty sure they defeated at least one of them as well in a match. So what happened is that they play Abdul, they play Tsukuyomi, so they stun my Malfi and my Sacred Elf, and I can't use my enter abilities. Sure, I use a single bear magic and I shut down the deck already when it comes to Abdul wise. And then I drop my Precious Layer, kill the Abdul away, and then what they're gonna do. And even let's say that they have the Tsukuyomi and Abdul combination on the battlefield, I can shift the Precious Layer from my hand and put it on the battlefield, and I can declare a block with it or attack really aggressively into it. And all my Resonator, or not all Precious Layer is only 500 attack and 500 defense. So when it goes to the graveyard, I can steal the Abdul, I can steal the Tsukuyomi and so on, which did happen. So meaning it put myself in a better position because I'm using your own lock card against you. So the only way for them to get rid of my Precious Layer in the shift form is the light magic, and if they don't have light magic, they can't do anything. And even if they do, I have more cancel spells than them because I'm pretty sure they only play what, 4 Seal Wind and Light. I play 2 Seal Wind and Light and 3 Warm Winds, which is the extra counter that actually matters if you're tapped out, because I notice a lot of Zero play tends to tap out quite early in the game to make their big power play like Celestial play, and then I just War Wind from there. So it really depends. But again, I'd say Zero is one of the easiest matchup for me when it comes to using Lumia, because again, Zero's best option is that they have to verse all pre-share decks. But if they're versing any random rogue decks like Valentine 3.0, as a video you saw on the feature match, that's one good example. It lost to it really badly with the hand destruction. And not only that, with Lumia Hook they have bear magic to turn into a bear, and then play the Precious Layer and kill it. Play the hook. If they don't respond to the hook, then they gotta lose because they have no way stopping it unless they get Abdul on the battlefield. And even if they do, you can still bear it, attack your opponent's face and flicker the hook away and spin 2 stones. And from there they cannot win, from my point of view. So yeah, that's how I felt about this Zero matchup. Now when it comes to top 8, I was versing Armor Heart Stealth. Now, I was not expecting Armor Heart Stealth. To be honest, I was not expecting that. I was expecting all pre-share, feasting and so on, and I thought I was the only rogue deck actually. Technically I was the only rogue deck player who went top 8 with Lumia, and everything else was like Armor Heart, pre-share and feasting. So I was pretty proud of myself, but however, I didn't really have a way to stop stealth. Originally I did have 3 Artemis bows in the main board and 1 in the sideboard, but I was predicting there will be no control players in the top 8 for many reasons, because we are in aggressive format. So let's say I even make it in top 8, I was not expecting any control decks, especially stealth. So I have no way of stopping stealth, I have no way of stopping Lunar Lake and so on, and Lunar Lake is the vein pain of my deck, because if I can't get the hook resolved, I'm gonna lose. So yeah, that's pretty much the video guys. So if you have any question, please let me know, and I'll leave a comment down below and I'll answer it. Other than that, thank you for watching, thank you for listening guys, hope you guys enjoyed it, see you guys next time, peace.